can't find anywhere to turn the water off between the pump and the tank. I woke up this morning and there was water on my galley floor. Not much, but you could see where it had been dripping out of the cupboard from underneath the sink. Oh no! So I took the pots and pans out and other things which were underneath there, and I could see that the pump was leaking. So I quickly looked around the boat to try and find the stop tap between the tank and the pump. I can't find it. If there is one, I don't know where it is. So what do I do? Well, there's only one thing I can do, because if you try to disconnect the pump, the water just comes gushing out from the tank. I'm guessing it's probably siphoning back from the tank, or part of the tank is slightly higher and I had that much water in to where the pump is situated. So, here goes. The only thing I can think of is run the tap until the tank's dry. How long can that take? Half an hour or so? I wish. Meanwhile, before we get on with this video, I'd like to let you all know that by request, I now have Christmas cards online in my store. That is www.uk-canal-photography.co.uk. I will put it along the bottom of the screen, and it's also in the description of the YouTube. Christmas cards I'll be selling in packs of 5. You can have either all 5 the same, or choose from a mixture of designs. If you choose the mixture of designs, please email me and let me know which ones you want. All cards are 6x4 and come with a white envelope. Anyway, let's get on with the video and see how I cope with this potential disaster. This has now been running for an hour and 20 minutes. And I still haven't emptied the tank. And it's nearly a week ago since I last filled up. Why, you might be asking? And I'm draining the water down. The pump is leaking. Where the connection goes to the pump, it's leaking. And if I try to disconnect it to look at it, of course the water comes pouring out because it's on the side, on the feed side of the pump. Oh well. Let's hope it doesn't take much longer. I have the engine running as well at the moment, so that I keep the batteries topped up while the pump has been running continuously. Well, just turned it off for a moment. I've been giving it a break about every 15 minutes, turn the tap off for a couple of minutes, let everything repressurise the tank, and give the pump a bit of a rest from continuously running for such a long time. Give it another few seconds and I'll be turning it back on again. Still not empty. Back on again. Oh, I hope it finishes soon. Still going. Just coming up to an hour and 50 minutes now. That's including 4 2-minute breaks or 5 2-minute breaks. So it's been running for at least an hour and 20 minutes now. When will it stop? I have filled up the 2 kettles I have with water. Plus I filled up a couple of empty water bottles with water. So at least I can make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. I have the kettle boiling right now for a cup of tea. It's ready for lunch really. It's gone noon. But I haven't started yet because it's been taking so long to empty the water tank. I've just done a test to see how fast this is actually running out, and it took 28 seconds to fill up a 2 litre water bottle. That means it's done just over 4 litres a minute. And it's now well over 2 hours it's been running for. We'll have to do some maths in a minute and work out roughly how much water was in the tank. Although I didn't show it at the time, I started pumping the water out when this clock said 2 minutes to 10 this morning. Yeah, we're heading up towards 3 hours now, and you can see it, still going. That's now 3 hours since I started, and yes, you can see we're still going. Yeah, it's still going. It's times like this you start to think to yourself, do I have a filtration system linked directly to the canal? No. Still going. Well, we're now just coming up to 3.5 hours, and yes, it's still going. Look, how much water does this tank hold? More than I thought, I'm sure of that, although I haven't done the calculation yet to work out exactly how much it is. I can't really tell exactly how much it is anyway, because it was 6 days ago when I last filled up with water. Is this crazy, or is this crazy? That's 4 hours now I've been pumping the water out of the tank. It would probably take off about 8 to 10 minutes where I've actually stopped it for a short period of time, either to go to the you know where or just give it a break. But yeah, 4 hours now. That's a lot of water. I don't mean to waste all this water, but I couldn't find any stopcock anywhere in the system to turn the water off between the tank and the pump, and I guess it was siphoning back through because it was full of water in the pipe, and I really didn't want any of that water inside the boat. It's damp enough down in that cupboard at the moment. I've got enough damage to the cupboard, so this kitchen unit is going to need replacing at some time, I'm sure. But oh well, another job to do. Look, still going. And by the way, I haven't been playing silly buggers with the dial on the clock either. Well, it's now 4 hours just gone since I started emptying the water out of the tank. I just wish I would have found the stopcock somewhere between the pump and the tank. I couldn't find one, although most of the pipework goes behind the wall, so there could be one in there somewhere which I don't know about. I know I had a large water tank on this boat. I didn't know quite how large it was. I haven't done the maths on it yet on how much I've pumped out, because of course it's still pumping out. But I was told when I bought the boat it had about a 300-gallon tank, which I believe is around about 1100 litres. I'm starting to believe now it's probably larger, because it's still going strong. 4 hours now, 4 hours of pumping the water out. And as I say, that was 6 days ago I last filled up with water. I filled up at Bradley Junction last Wednesday afternoon after I came down Bradley Locks on the Trenton Mersey, and today is Tuesday, the following week of course. So I've used nearly a week's worth of water, and I've just pumped out 4 hours worth of water, and it's still pumping it out. It's a shame to waste all this water. I couldn't find any way around it. I certainly didn't want it all leaking into the bilge underneath the sink. The cabinet is damaged enough as it is with water damage. It's probably been leaking a little while and I didn't realise. So I'm going to have to get a new cabinet here one day. It's time to put the sink unit back into. Another expense, But it's going to be a while. I'm going to let it dry out first and see what happens. But obviously it will have to be replaced at some point in time. You know what happens when chipboard gets wet? Lovely. There's one thing for definite. When walking in the boat now, from the back of the boat towards the front, it's definitely uphill. So hopefully we're getting close. I left the camera turned on all the time so I could just hit the record button if I wanted to. Well, this is the third battery that I've put into the camera so far, and it's getting very low right now, so I'm going to have to swap it over again. Fortunately I've been charging them up at the same time as filming, because as I had the engine running anyway to make sure the water pump kept going at full pressure, I didn't want to be killing the batteries running the water pump solid. Of course I've been able to charge up all the batteries and everything where I've been going along. Not going along, if you know what I mean, while I've been doing that. I think we could be getting close at last. The water flow's definitely slowing down here, and it looks a bit yucky as well, although there's a filter in the system, and I guess the filter's probably not coped very well drawing all off that water at one point in time. Here's the clock look. It's just come for it. Well, 4 hours and 20 minutes ago or so I started doing this. I thought it was in near about 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. There was a slight discoloration in the water for about 30 seconds, but it's been running clear again now for I don't know how long. And as you can see here, that's now 4.5 hours it's been running for. 4.5 hours. And still going strong. I've been standing here now watching this for over 4.5 hours. I'm already tired and I haven't started doing the job yet. It's a bit tiring just standing here watching, but I don't want to leave it, because as soon as it is empty I want to make sure I turn the pump off. I don't want to try and pressurise the accumulator tank when there's no water going into it, or run the pump dry. So you can probably still hear in the background, still going. Let's get back to it. Well, it's now I start to realise it's no wonder I've never run out of water. That's 5 hours now I've been pumping the water out of the tank for, or had the tap running for 5 hours. Gee whiz. Will I ever run out? I'm always worried about running out of water. I fill up every 10 days to 2 weeks thinking I must be getting low by now. Well, as I say, it's a week ago nearly I last filled up with water, and I've now just run it for 5 hours and I still haven't run out. Oh well, let's keep going. We're getting there. Look, at last. At last. That's about 5 hours and 10 minutes. And take off the 10 minutes for where I've turned it off for a few times. Oh, at last. 5 hours. 5 hours to drain my tank through the water pump. 5 hours to pump it out. Right, let's turn it off. Turn the pump off as well. There we go. At last. Well, all I've got to do now is take the pump out and see if I can stop the leak. Oh, I thought I'd been doing this 4 hours ago. Not now, not 3:30 in the afternoon. Well, I've got the pump out, so let's have a look, see what the problem is. Kitchen's a complete mess, of course, because I can't do any washing up at the moment. Well, what I've found is where this clips into here, the water was leaking out behind it. I'm guessing that this rubber seal on the end here, it's got a bit flattened. So what I've just done, I've dropped a fibre washer in there, a little red fibre washer. So I'm going to show you that. just stuck that little red fibre washer in there to make it a little bit tighter, and I'm hoping that that's going to fix it. But we'll find out, won't we? I'm just going to reconnect this. It pushes in there. It's a bit tight there to push this in, but it's good, I'm hoping. There we go. So there we have it. Right, it's nice and tight now. It was all wobbly before. So let's put it back in. So I'm going to start off by reconnecting the power cables. Otherwise they get in the way when you're at the back there. That goes in there. There. So it's then connected back up. Then to put the pump back in. I'll keep the wires out of the way. Here. Just keep the wires over the top of the pump. I'm not the right size for all this. Connects back on here. This is actually a filter hose in here. It needs a new filter in it, but I don't have one, so can't do that at the moment. I didn't plan on taking this apart until I found out I had water everywhere. Right, that's tightened up. It goes underneath that for what it's worth, but I'll put it under there anyway. Put this back in over here. Oops, that wasn't clever. I have to move the camera. Just like so. Tighten that up. There we go. That's that back in. Get some cable ties and put these cables up out of the way. So I'm going to fix it with a couple of cable ties just to the pipe there, just to hold it up out of the way so it's not on the bottom, so it does get wet. And there, it's not going to get the electrics wet. Cable ties here, let's find some right sort of size-ish. That should, a couple of these should do nicely. Give it a little cable ties. All I'm going to do is just cable tie it up onto this pipe out of the way, so it should keep it up off the ground. One there. I'll put one on the other side there. I should just keep it up there tidy, I think. I'll get the cable tie around. It would have been easier with slightly longer ones, but I go from blind to ridiculous. I've got some very short ones and some very long ones. So I've used all the middle-sized ones up on other jobs. That should work, shouldn't it? Just pull it tight. That one tight. And if I have them like that, I can still get to them quite easily. But they're not in the way, they're not now. Let's put that around the If I put any, look at any, I'll push it through the back there, can't it? There we go. Just, if I put anything in here now, it's not going to catch the cables. That's the idea. So the cables are free. Well, let's sit back together. Except for I haven't yet fixed it down to the ground, which I've got to do now. I'll go and find some new screws and put in there. For some reason it had 4 screws in there, 3 of which were different before. So let's put in 4 the same. Right, I've got 4 screws and I put 4 little washers on them as well. I've also trimmed off the cable ties. They're not poking up. Let's put these back in. I'll put them in exactly the same holes as they were before, I think. You can see where it's had more than one pump in there at times. There's all sorts of holes in the floor here. I was going to screw in easy anyway because this is now rotten and it needs replacing, but I can't afford to put a new cabinet in at the moment, so it's going to have to do for now. I've taken the doors off the cabinets and I'm going to leave the doors off for probably a couple of weeks. Hopefully it'll dry a bit. That's one. I'm not going to over tighten them. As I say, it's a bit yucky and it'll probably just keep tightening up forever. I'm going to make life a little easier and get my little electric screwdriver out. So we have it all fixed back in. Now I've got to go and fill up with water and check for leaks. Well, it's actually the next day now. I didn't fill up with water last night. It was dark and the water point is just behind me. I'm moored at the moment at Fazeley Junction and I'm moored on the sort of the concrete bit right outside the old mill, actually on the Birmingham and Fazeley section as you come round the junction. So I'm going to reverse back through the bridge hole onto the water point. And I'm going to do that this morning and fill up with water. So I've now filled up with water. I didn't actually film filling up with water. It is chucking it down outside at the moment. So I just put the hose in and left it running. I can tell you it did take 2 hours to fill up with water. Just over actually. Just over 2 hours to fill back up with water. And I also noticed when I came back through the bridge, with my chimney on, I couldn't fit through the bridge anymore. And I did when I went through just the day before, a couple of days ago. Anyway, I did also notice that the front of the boat was probably 8 inches higher than normal. I normally think when the front of the boat lifts up by a couple of inches, it's time to fill up the tank. Well, obviously, it has an awful long way to go because it was a good 8 inches high at the front of the boat. Anyway, it's not leaking and everything is good. Oh, phew, what a day. Well, as promised, I did do a little bit of maths to try and work out roughly what my water tank holds. As I said, it had already been 6 days of operation before I actually pumped it out. But it took roughly 5 hours to pump it out at roughly 4 litres a minute. Well, 5 hours is 300 minutes. So 4 times 300, I believe, is 1,200. So it was roughly 1,200 litres I pumped out. And as that had been 6 days after I'd filled up with water, I'm assuming that the tank must hold somewhere around about 1,500 litres. I wouldn't put a claim to that, but it's got to be getting on that way somewhere. Well, this is a little bit of a different video, as you probably noticed, to what I normally put up. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, I want to thank all my PayPal and Patreon supporters, everybody for watching, and everybody for subscribing. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And don't forget to hit that old bell notification button. That way, YouTube will inform you every time I upload a new video. And don't forget to leave your comments. I love reading your comments and I answer them all. Unless you're a troll and leave stupid messages, then I just delete them. I'm guessing that probably a lot of people will tell you I've done it all wrong. But it's what I had to hand. And I couldn't afford to go out and buy a Webasto seal kit. 30 quid for a seal kit. Well, the seals I had there was a packet of all different shapes and sizes, were £1 in Wilkinson's. Yeah, anyway, I can't understand how a seal kit's 30 quid and a whole brand new pump's 87. Well, I guess that's where they make the money. A 50p seal kit for 30 quid. Anyway, that's enough of me whinging. And just leaves me to say, thank you very much for watching. Trevor out.